In this environment, the race to build the wildest dream cars was inevitable. As mid-century Ford stylist Gene Bordenot put it, the designer who'd always reached for the moon, hoping to get halfway there, was now hearing from management, "Okay, go ahead, take the damn moon." Why did manufacturers build dream cars? They allowed them to test public reactions to new design ideas. They prepared consumers for future designs, and they put a halo glow around mundane production model cars from the manufacturers. General Motors design chief Harley Earl kicked off the mid-century dream car craze with his outrageous 1951 LeSabre. This high-tech wonder had body panels of aluminum and cast magnesium, an experimental V8 with alcohol boost, an automatic rain-sensing convertible top, hidden headlights, built-in hydraulic jacks, an altimeter, and a full-time mechanic whose only job was keeping it all running. Harley Earl put over 45,000 miles in the car. That was actually his daily driver. And it looks kind of like a small sports car there, but you have to keep the scale in mind. He was actually 6'4", weighed about 300 pounds. It's really a large car, actually. Buick wanted to get in on this deal, so they got approval from management to do their own version. They used the same mechanicals, and they built what they called the XP300. It had their own dedicated Buick styling, and it made its own splash. It appeared in advertising and inspired lots of plastic toys for boomer kids of the day. Ford didn't want to be left behind by General Motors, so they countered with their elaborate, fully functional X100. This was originally proposed as a Lincoln Continental of tomorrow. And this had everything that businessman needed. It offered a dictaphone for recording notes, an electric razor for a quick shave on the way to work, even an onboard telephone, if you can believe that. Pretty good for 1952. But instead of inspiring future Lincolns, the X100 actually lent its lines to Ford's 1961 to 63 T-Bird. I think you can see the resemblance pretty strong there. The prime mid-century period for dream cars took three very different directions at the big three car makers. GM was the largest manufacturing company in the world, with nearly inexhaustible resources. Thus, it spared no expense in developing the greatest number of concepts during the mid-century. They were also the most daring in terms of their engineering, with many featuring innovations that took decades to appear on the screen. Harley Earl was the chief of GM design from 1928 to 58. He directly oversaw the styling of over 50 million production cars. And he kept his staff humming during the mid-century, designing 6 production car lines while he also churned out a non-stop series of wild dream cars. His innovations include the styling studio, the concept car, clay modeling, the wraparound windshield, tail fins, jet fighter bubble tops, first jet turbine car on the streets of America, first use of a backup camera, and first to aggressively promote women designers. This is a quote from Harley to his dream car designers. When you go to Vegas for a stage show, you don't want to see your wife on stage, you expect a real floozy. And that's what his cars were. They went all out. This is a shot of GM's styling studio in the mid-50s. You can see the guy in the foreground is working on a 55 Chevy Bel Air sketch. According to Harley Earl's successor at GM, Bill Mitchell, and this is a quote, "We worked our tails off. My God, we had 15 to 18 cars going at any one time. He never knew when to quit." Earl worked as hard as his designers did, though, and through it all kept his cool by keeping duplicates of all his suits in an office closet. Earl would change into a fresh new suit at noon when summer heat wilted his staff. His 1938 Y job, seen at the left, is credited as being the first factory concept car. His 1955 La Universale, on the right, would have been the first minivan if it had been produced. These are impressionistic shots of GM's Styling Center for Look magazine. In the photo on the left, you can see the styling dome at the right edge. It had multiple skylights to provide natural look to the clay models and prototypes that were displayed for executive approval. But the winters get cold in Michigan, so they actually dug a tunnel from the executive's office building to the styling dome, so they wouldn't have to go outside. This is a couple more photos from the look piece. I'm not sure what the lady on the right is doing for the designers, but just a typical day at the office. Here's Harley Earl's famous LeSabre today as preserved by GM's Heritage Center. With dramatic styling and innovative technology, it set a very high bar for mid-century dream cars. That's at the 2008 Pebble Beach concours. While flying commercial in 1952, GM design chief Harley Earl ran into an acquaintance who asked how he topped the then famous LeSabre. As a joke, Earl produced a photo of the Douglas Skyray jet fighter he'd torn from a magazine and stuffed in his pocket. "This is it," he boasted. By the time Earl returned to Detroit, he decided to make his boast real. And there it is, the 1953 Firebird. This car was mind-blowingly radical. It had a jet turbine engine, a fighter jet bubble top canopy, and as you can see, some very derivative styling from the Skyray jet. Here is the Firebird 1, as it's now called, at Pebble Beach 2008. GM keeps all of the Firebird turbine jet cars in perfect working order to this day. It wasn't only jet airplanes that influenced stylists in the mid-century. In 1952, Ford designer Bill Schmidt and GM stylist William Mitchell took a scuba diving trip to the Caribbean, where their sighting of a shark fired both men's creative imaginations. Bill Schmidt styled Lincoln's Futura dream car based on the shark's sleek lines. He went all the way with his undersea inspiration, having the car painted in a specially mixed paint containing ground up fish scales for a pearlescent effect. GM designer Bill Mitchell styled his experimental '59 Corvette Stingray race car based on the same shark's inspiration. But Mitchell didn't forget the shark that easily. His 1961 Mako shark showed its influences as well. He had succeeded Harley Earl in 1958 as chief of GM style. His Mako shark Corvette featured a shaded side color scheme, just like the stuffed Mako shark he hung on his office wall. Mitchell instructed GM fabricators to match the stuffed shark's color scheme exactly. When 2 attempts failed to meet Mitchell's approval, GM painters just went ahead and sprayed the stuffed shark to match their 3rd attempt. And he never got wise. Sometimes you have to